Bobcat Book Club. So this is what I did. I started with a book club this year, and the book club that I was going to do was completely different than the book club that I did. And if you guys saw me in, I think it was October, we were going to do an online book club, and it just kind of, I battled bronchitis most of the year, so it kind of splintered a little bit, but this is what we did. So the reason I wanted to do a book club was totally, my timer's not going, is it? Oh, I don't want to go over it. The reason I wanted to do a book club is reading on the ACT is one of those things that most kids have a lot of trouble with. And the reason that I think reading is what they have a lot of trouble is kids don't read quickly enough. And for any standardized test, they have to read quickly. They have to be able to comprehend and read quickly at the same time. So how do you do that? Well, if you like basketball, what do? You practice. If you like football, you practice. Nobody practices reading. If you're not really good at reading, you don't read, which becomes this vicious circle, and then you're not good at reading, and you hate it, and it becomes this vicious circle. So what I wanted was to get more people reading just for the heck of it. So that's where the book club came in. So what we did is we have over 50% of our seniors are in a remedial English class. And I get to teach them. I get to teach them for English 4, and then I get to teach them again for transitional English. And it's really tough sometimes to teach seniors in 2 English classes where they really don't even want to take one. Okay, so we're trying to figure out how to get people to read. So what I did is I bought 10 different books, and I bought 15 copies of those books. And I started giving these books out. First off, I went to just the office, and we had an announcement that said, book club, please see Miss Hackworth. The first book I gave out was a book of poetry by Jason Reynolds. It was A Long Way Down, and it's very easy to read. You have a lot of white space on those pages to suck some of these kids in to think, oh my gosh, I can do this. Even though it's poetry, it's like spoken word poetry, so it doesn't have to rhyme. It's not Shakespeare. So, and what I told the kids were, if you will pay it forward, I will not make you turn these books back in. You have to give the book to someone else in the school. So these kids start passing these books around, and then we meet during ESS to talk about the books. And it's very, very informal. And it was going really, really well until we had the book, The Timekeeper, which is a dystopian novel. And you either like dystopian or you don't. It's kind of like romance. You either like to read romance or you don't like to read romance. So a lot of the kids left my book club over The Timekeeper until I could get them back in to say, okay, listen, a book club is not like a class. If you don't like this book, stop reading it. Bow out of the book club for a couple of weeks until we get back into another book. You don't have to read every book we do, because a lot of times they've never been in a book club, so they don't know that. So it was the whole idea of saying, this is a book club. It is after school. It is on your own. You know, we can talk before school, we can talk after school, we can talk at break, which happens sometimes, but you don't have to be in this book club for every single book. So that took a couple of, months for them to kind of figure that out. We still have 2 more books to read, Whenever Nina Lies, and it's a yellow book. It's the one, I Am Malele. Some of the kids want to read that. We also talked about poetry. We did a lot of poetry. We talked about Code Sassy Tree. We talked about Hamlet because they were reading sections of Hamlet in their VPA class, and some of them wanted to read more of Hamlet. Shocker, I know, but we did. So we read more of Hamlet, and it basically just became a go to Miss Hackworth, see if she wants to read a book with you, get a couple of friends together, and you guys read a book together. And so it kind of splintered off, and I had, at one point, like 4 different books going, but I had 5 or 6 kids reading each book. And the one that was the best, well, I have two that most kids, like nobody gave me, almost all of them gave me back the timekeeper and said, you can give it to somebody else. But the two books that everybody loved, that everybody passed around to other kids, and then I noticed other kids coming in to get more books, which was good, were those two books were the one that I gave out first, A Long Way Down, by Jason Reynolds, and The Hate You Give. And I had a lot of people who had watched the movie and wanted to read the book, but I had a lot of people who had not watched the movie. And so I still have The Hate You Give kind of floating around the school. And at the end of the year, one day during ESS, we're going to watch that movie. And everybody who's read that book can come in, and I'm going to get pizza, and we're just going to like hang out, because that's the book that has the movie, so that kind of gets them more excited about that. So that's just kind of what we've done this year. We didn't do online. We did before school, we did after school, and we did at break. And like I said, I told them it was a grant, and as long as they would pass the books to other people, they didn't have to turn the books back into me. Because I want those books out in the hands of kids. I don't want them sitting on a shelf in the library that nobody, might go in and read. I don't want them sitting in my classroom. I want them out in the hands of kids. And so they were out in the hands of kids, and a lot of them are still out in the hands of kids. We made one bad, book choice with The Timekeeper. We had 3 people who really, really liked it, but like I said, it's a dystopian novel. I didn't finish it. Don't tell the kids. I didn't like it, but it is what it is. And that's why I told them, I said, you don't have to finish this book. I did tell the kids I finished it, the ones that really liked it, and they talked to me enough about it that I could then act like I had finished it, so we were good. Like, I agree. I didn't like that ending because of blah, blah, blah. So I kind of, lied about it and said I had finished it too. They didn't know because they just sat and talked to me about the book, but that's what it was. A book club is just getting together and talking about books with like-minded people. And I think it was a success because, number one, kids are giving books to each other, and number two, I see different faces throughout the year. I saw kids, one that I don't have in class, and 2 that are like, Coranda told me to come in and grab a book. Ashley told me to come in and get a book. And then I also, in other classes, because in each English class we have silent sustained reading, and sometimes I would have Miss Ratliff's kids come in to get some books off my classroom library shelf. So like if you kind of get to be known as the person who has cool books, I think that's a good reputation to have. So that's kind of my reputation, and I'm the book club lady, so we're pretty cool. My husband calls them my nerds. But hey, I was one of those when I went to school. So any questions?